Holy smokes, folks, it is again raining cats and dogs. I'm your host, Henry Jansen, sports writer for the Kirksville Daily Express, and tonight we will be joined by four coaches, both soccer coaches, boys and girls for Kirksville High School, as well as men's and women's for Truman State University, beginning with Kirksville boys head coach Shawn Meintz. Then we'll be joined by Kirksville girls coach Nathaniel Kennard, then Duke Cochran, and Mike Cannon. First on studio, we have Coach Shawn Meintz. How are you doing this evening, Coach?
I'm doing fantastic, Henry. Happy to be here.
I am very glad to hear that, Shawn. Talk to us a little bit about, first and foremost, before we get how your season ended in kind of a disappointing fashion, all of the positives. Really good win-loss record, and I think that you would say before anybody else, you saw these young men improve and look more like a cohesive unit over the course of the season. Just talk a little bit about your team. 17-5, I believe. Is that your final record?
16-6.
16-6.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about from the beginning of August until now.
Yeah. We got out. We knew we had a good group of kids. A lot of talent. Returning seniors were a good class of seniors. So we knew we had something special. The underclassmen, we only had a couple of juniors, but so mostly it's going to be sophomores who were filling in some of the starting lineup for us. So we knew going in that we had a pretty good group, pretty talented. It was just a matter of kind of piecing them together to see where they worked best. Over the course of the early games, we figured that out. And yeah, like you said, really played cohesive soccer. We like to possess the ball, like to move around the field, create our opportunities. The other team can't score if we've got the ball, and we had the skill to be able to do that. We did that for most of the season, able to kind of dominate play against even the toughest opponents. But yeah, so 16-6 overall is a fantastic record for Kirksville boys soccer. So real happy with that. Then, like you said, disappointing end. I mean, only one team at the end gets to win the last game. So you kind of know that you're most likely going out on a loss. We just hate it that it happened when it did in the semifinal of the district game. But we played that one tough too. It was an exciting game, almost made the comeback happen, but I just couldn't quite get that third goal in.
And walk me through that Southern Boone game a little bit. Last week in Moberly in the district semifinal, give up two really tough goals, kind of uncharacteristic for your team in the first half, including one off of a free kick. That's not something that we saw. Not something we saw the Tigers give up a lot, but the resilience and the fight after giving up a third early in the second half to battle back, draw a couple penalties, and really give yourself a chance down to the final whistle just to be right there to have a chance to claw back.
Right. That's a credit to our leadership on the team. I mean, these boys never give up. They play to the end, whether we're winning or whether we're losing. They are playing to the end. That was a tough game because Southern Boone's style is so different from ours. Like I said, we like to possess the ball and really play the game. Their style, and no discredit to them at all, the technical term is park the bus. Just sit back deep in front of the goal, prevent goals from going in, and then break on a counterattack. And they had a forward that could do that. Their first goal, it was him alone, and took a shot from 30 yards out. That was incredible. So, I mean, they played the way they wanted to play. They played the way that they thought that they could in order to win, and that's the job they got done. But like you said, we're down 3-0, and just keep fighting back. Just keep fighting back. We were always in the game, but it's just a little hard. Their goalie was playing out of his mind. So he was making all the saves for all the good shots that we had, and that was the difference in the game. So just credit to that guy. He really made it hard for us to get that ball in the back of the net. Took 2 penalty kicks to do it.
He was pretty phenomenal that evening. And like you had said before, number 11 with a howitzer from 30 yards out of the open goal of the game, just kind of to break things open, made it challenging for you guys. Talk to me a little bit about the district. This is something that you and I have spoken about, but I think something people will find interesting is compared to you and your assistant coaching capacities, what you guys had to do for the girls district tournament this past spring, traveling to Maryville 3 times to win that thing versus now here we are in the fall and the boys team that's just an hour down the road against all teams that you've seen throughout the course of the season and that you're familiar with. just talk to me a little bit about not necessarily the difference in those two districts, but just how much of an advantage it is necessarily to have just a quick hour drive to Moberly and play teams that you don't really have to see that much film on.
Well, I mean, as it turned out, it didn't turn out to be that much of an advantage.
Sure.
If winning the district is what we're going for. I mean, that being said, you still got to play the game. But yeah, the fact that we just had that hour-long trip instead of 3 hours. I mean, we were on the bus, and Nathaniel could talk more about this, but 6 hours for a game in the spring and just 2 hours. And that's something I don't think people realize that about where we're at in the state, how far we are from competition. That Moberly at an hour is our closest. Anything else after that, we're going an hour and a half or 2 hours. And that's, I mean, when you get the college guys in here, they go far. But we are going, for a high school team, we're going far too. So that being said, it is nice because you kind of know what you're getting, and we knew we had a competitive district, and I mean it came down to the wire in that final too with Father Tolton and Southern Boone. So it was a competitive district, and I like that. Anybody could have won it, given the night, and it was absolutely much better to get home at a reasonable time and be ready to go for the next game than back after midnight.
Talk to me a little bit about coming down the stretch in what ended up being a really exciting season in the NCMC in the last ever conference season. Basically all rode on a game between you and Marshall, as it turned out. Talk to me what you're telling your kids and just that kind of degree of excitement of having a conference finish be that competitive.
Yeah, I think in the big scheme of things, for us to be that competitive against a very good Marshall team is something to be proud of. That we were in both games that we played against Marshall, that we had beat everybody else, and so we just needed to take that game in the last one down at their place, which we knew would be a challenge. They had home field advantage. It's a 2-hour, 20-minute bus ride. They play on a field that is less than quality. They would admit that too. So it's bumpy and patchy, and it's hard to really do what we wanted to do. But yeah, that game was so close. It came down to overtime, like between us, and there really wasn't much difference. Again, they scored the first goal against us on a corner kick, and in the first game, that's how they beat us, was a corner kick. And then both goals they scored in that what turned out to be the championship game were both free kicks, free kick and a corner kick. So definitely an area that as a coach I need to improve on. And I mean, after all these years, there's still room for growth. I'll admit that. But yeah, for the boys to hang in that close, play them that tough, and really worry them, get them into overtime couldn't ask for more.
And I know that you're excited for the future. You'll lose some big key senior pieces, but you are bringing back a lot of youth. Not just next year, but the following year. You talk about this sophomore class. Let's talk about these kids a little bit and what we can expect out of the Kirksville Tigers next year and what your offseason might look like between now and then so that they will be ready to rock and roll, even the younger guys, when the season rolls around next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big key. I'm a big fan. I know the Nesbitts in the last episode talked about multi-sport athletes, and I'm a big fan of that. I like to push that. We got some guys that go on to play club soccer kind of all year round, and at least they're doing something, but we got guys, junior will return next year. Beckett Lyons, I mean, he kicks for the football team while he plays soccer. He plays basketball. He plays, I think he runs track now. So he's a 4-sport athlete in high school. And that's incredible to see that kind of talent. We got some other guys going out for basketball, and I'm excited to see that. I know Coach Kuhn was on here for the first episode. So it's good to see these guys go out and get their work in other sports and really learn to be competitive in different ways. And then we won't do any workouts and stuff until we get to the summer and we start to gear in for the next season. Over summer, Misha rules kind of restrict how much access we have to our players over the course of the school year after that. But we let them go and play their other sports and really learn those competitive aspects of games, in the other things they're doing. But yeah, we've got a good group coming back in the next couple of years. I mean, we got a good junior class, some good junior leadership. Beckett Lyons, Cedric Cook, Aiden Bergman. They were big for us in this season already, and they'll be back as senior leadership next year. And then it'll be juniors instead of sophomores. There's a big difference for boys between a 17-year-old and a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 18 and 14. Like, it's a big spread for those younger guys to come in and really make a difference. But this coming year will be even stronger.
One thing that I like to ask all of you guys, and this is something that's for the most part out of your control as a coach, but not having a conference as it stands right now, kind of going out into the great unknown in the what will be the 2026-2027 school year. I mean, does that give you any kind of trepidation, or you'll just let the chips fall as they may? I mean, what say you in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, we'll lose some games that we like to play. I mean, I talked to the Marshall coach, and we'll probably just be playing Marshall one time instead of twice. And those farther games, I mean, they'll be able to find some games easier than we will. Some things that we're already thinking about with Moberly in a more central location is trying to bring some teams in to play some like group games there and like small tournament or shootout style stuff. We could always travel to a tournament that's a little farther away, stay overnight, something Kansas City, St. Louis area. There's a big tournament, Lake of the Ozarks. So if we can get some games in a weekend, 3 games in a weekend, we can fill a schedule out. What we lose is that conference, like we just had our conference meeting. And so when this airs on Wednesday, the conference team will be out. But I mean, that for the kids is really where that they suffer with this. So I'm completely out of my control in terms of why this dissolved or whatever. But I mean, we'll make the most of it and really probably push some tournament titles and things like that to fill that gap. And maybe if we could find 5 or 6 teams that play each other in the area, like Mexico, Moberly, us, Sunnydale schools. There's some different ones, and if we could all just play even one game and we all kind of share it, there's something that we could do there, a little mini tournament. So we got some things working in the back of our heads, and the coaches are in communication. I know the athletic directors are too, just to try to make sure the kids got something that they can, something else to play for besides just friendlies setting up for districts. So, because that's, I mean, we want the record. Everybody wants that winning record on the season. So the conference gave us another title to play for and look for. We didn't win it that often, but it was always something to play for. We were close this year.
About as close as you could be. And there are ways for it to be done. Don't get me wrong. I just always find it interesting if that's something that you've already started to think about yet, just a year away. But there are certainly solutions. And I know that Sarah has done an excellent job when it comes to scheduling over the course of the past handful of years. So those things, you guys will have plenty of games, just where or what they might look like.
Yeah, how far we have to go. That's another question for us.
Well, Coach, as far as a debrief kind of went for your guys after, a tough way to lose a conference title and a tough way to get bounced in the district tournament, what'd you really have to say to these guys as they kind of go their separate ways for the rest of the school year?
Yeah, we talked to them at equipment turn-in, just about the way that they, kind of next steps. We kind of focus on the future with them. We'll have our banquet, and I'll have more words for them at the banquet, kind of overview the season, a recap, and highlight the positives. Kind of let the sting get out of the loss a little bit.
Sure.
Because everybody's mad, upset at the end of that. And credit to a lot of the senior boys. I mean, they fought back so hard in that game that, I mean, yeah, we were sad that we lost, but we honestly gave that our very best effort. And, you don't have to be the best team in the state. You just got to be best on the night. And Southern Boone got us.
Very good, Shawn. Anything else you have for me? Anything else? Anything just burning on the Shawn Meintz brain?
There's so many things, Henry. There's so many things burning. It's like a industrial stove top. with everything on the burner. So
It's like
yeah, I didn't know you had asked all
a
these
foundry in there.
different questions, and you do such a great job asking these questions. I didn't know if it was going to be backstory or season stuff. I was ready for anything. So
There you go. And that's about it's about the full extent of what I wanted to ask you about this evening, was specifically about your season, just kind of a wrap up and a little bit of a peeking your head toward the future.
yeah. I think it's going to be fun for the next for the foreseeable future for Kirksville soccer. Our club has been killing it, producing some players with some talent. And then, last piece for them is really grow into their bodies, gain some strengths and some confidence, and get out there and play what is a little bit more of a physical game at the high school level than some of the stuff coming up through the club. But yeah, it's gonna be fun for Kirksville boys soccer for years to come.
Very good. Kirksville boys soccer coach Shawn Meintz, coming off of a 16-6 season. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Hey, I'm very happy, Henry. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Joined now by Kirksville girls soccer coach Nathaniel Kennard. Coach, how are you doing this evening?
Great. You?
Doing well. Thank you very much for joining us. Nathaniel Kennard, also the assistant boys soccer coach. So coming off of the boys season, like Shawn and I had just spoken about a lot of things. A couple of those things I would ask you about too, just for a different set of eyes, different perspective. And we'll hit on that first before we look a little bit ahead to the spring girls season. Coming off of this season for the boys, tough loss in districts and a tough way to not quite get it done in the NCMC. What did you have to say to these guys? Maybe as just from an assistant coach perspective that head coach Shawn Meintz might not have said to that group.
Yeah. This team honestly was one of the best that I've seen go through Kirksville, both as a player and a coach. Meintz and I had talked about it occasionally throughout the season we've had really good teams, but most of those teams were based around like 2 or 3 really good players. Even you look at that 2019 team that won in sectionals, like it was a good all-around team, but it really was driven by those like 2 or 3 people. And this team was like throughout the board. Like I could pick out 1 or 2 people that were probably a little better than everybody else, but as a general statement, they were like solid across the board. And like you said, it was very unlucky and unfortunate for those 2 games where we just had mental slips and just couldn't get it done.
And that's really what Meintz walked away with too, is that as much as that stings, both the Marshall game as well as the game in districts, you can't do anything but just be proud with how resolute this group was, especially your group of seniors. First and foremost, talk to me a little bit about that group of seniors that the boys team will miss going into next year, as well as just some immediate takeaways from how far you've seen that sophomore class, especially, and some of those juniors come since August.
Yeah, those seniors are definitely going to be missed. Like we've had 2 of them are phenomenal players, and they really did drive the midfield for us. You take one of them off the field, and I don't want to say things started coming off the rails, but it definitely didn't feel as stable. And then another one was just so creative. You got him the ball, and he was able to find very difficult passes to see. So yeah, gonna miss all of those seniors. From the sophomore class, they came into our program with a lot of expectation, and so far I would say that they are doing what we expected them to do. Their big thing, I think, going forward is definitely going to be their mental resilience and being able to gain the IQ. For example, in that last Marshall game where that quick free kick happened, again, unfortunate. We thought one thing should have happened and it didn't happen, but and then going and having the same thing happen in the district game after it. I know it was a quick turnaround going from one game to another, but as sophomores, we can kind of forgive the not learning quickly. But as they get into that junior and senior level, it's going to be like, okay, We've been here. We know what to expect. So show us where you can get to as you get to that age of we want you to dominate.
Right on. Well, thank you, Nathaniel. I just thought since it was so fresh on the brain, it would be I'd be a little bit remiss to not ask you about the end of the boys' season. But looking ahead a little bit to your team, to the girls' season this coming spring, you guys are coming off of a historic run. At the end of last year, a district championship brought to the Kirksville hardware case for, I believe, the first time ever, correct?
Yep.
How do you carry that momentum? Just talk to me a little bit about your team. And I know that you haven't really gotten a chance to get them out on the field yet and have full team practices, but talk a little bit about what you're anticipating and carrying that kind of momentum, what some of your personnel is like, and what we should expect to see when spring rolls around.
Yeah. So like you said, this past season was phenomenal. We had some really great characters on our team that helped us push us over that line. One of the things that I feel the program hasn't had for so long is the hunger to get over the line and bring the hardware back to the district. There was always those couple teams that were super close, but in order to get yourself over the line, you have to have everybody committed and wanting to bring it back. And certain years when it was close, you might have had, 2 or 3 players that were just like, it's summertime, I'm ready to be done. That whole senioritis thing kicked in. So this past season, we had everybody that was really hungry and wanted to bring it back. So going forward, we're definitely going to miss those seniors because they provided a lot. I'm going to be only bringing back one of our back line, and that includes the goalie. So we have a returning goalie, but she's missed the past 2 seasons. So we're not sure what she's going to be like, but we're hoping that she can come back strong. And then we're also missing our defensive mid. So within that back 6, we're only bringing back 1. We do have up and coming people that I think are going to be strong enough to handle those situations. And they definitely were able to step up when they had to sub in last year. So it'll be an interesting challenge to see how the returning front line, which is very strong and really is only missing one person from last year, is able to bring in balance that back line that is going to be somewhat fresh.
Speaking of this group of returners, I'm trying to think of help me out here. I'm trying to think of who else you guys lost. Zoe Cole.
We lost Lauren Burchett, who was a very resolute defender. We lost the Albright twins, which one was the leading scorer for our team last year, and then the other one was our right back. And then let's see, Ellie Farwell, who was another center back, and then Aaliyah Puckett, who became our goalie and did a phenomenal job. So,
and it sounds like, that is a lot of pairs of pretty big shoes to fill, but you think your girls are up to the challenge. Yeah. When do you think you'll have a really good idea? Did you guys do any off-season stuff in the summer, anything like that before the school year began?
We did some weightlifting. We didn't do a whole lot of the ball skill stuff. They would come to the guys' ball skills. But it's one of those, a lot of my girls do 2 or 3 sports, and I am very adamant about keeping players healthy. So, going into a summer, especially after a long season like we had, and they're trying to train with 3 different teams, that is really tolling on your body. So I told them, if you need to focus on one, just focus on one. And some of them took me up on that, which is totally fine. So we are planning to start our preseason stuff. The weightlifting and conditioning stuff will probably be in a week or 2. And then we won't get to actually start doing any ball skill stuff until after the Christmas season.
Talking about staying healthy a little bit, some of these girls who are playing basketball or maybe wrestling in the wintertime, and then you're on the back end of what's already been a demanding sports season coming into the spring season. fitness and conditioning and things like that. How do you toe that line as a coach between, look, we know that you put a lot on your body and exerted a lot over the past handful of months, but we still got a long way to go, and it's a long soccer season too.
Yeah. So for those that don't do those sports, it's a little bit more demanding, because they're coming to the like winter conditioning stuff. Anybody that's in season doesn't need to come to that stuff because, I mean, they're conditioning or whatever sport they're doing. And then once their season's done and they come to us, it very much is a where are you at and what can you do? For example, last year we had a wrestler come in, and she told us how sore she was and that she needed a little bit of a break. So she was able to continue to do the ball skill stuff. That way she was able to kind of step up into where the team was at because she missed all the winter ball skills. But as far as the conditioning, we let her back off a little bit on that just to recoup her body. And then once we got into games, we picked it right back up.
Coach Kennard, this is your how many years will you have been at Kirksville in a head coaching capacity for the girls?
This will be my third year.
This will be your third year coming in. Talk to me a little bit about expectations that you maybe have, not only necessarily for your athletes, but also kind of for yourself as you've started to cement yourself as, this is your thing. Year one, you have some grace with yourself. Year two, phenomenal. You couldn't have asked for more from this group to go win a district title. And now what standards do you hold yourself to at this point, kind of having been here twice in this situation?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I've always wanted to bring into this is the culture of wanting to win. I know that it is not a realistic expectation to hold on myself to win districts or conference every year, but I set the team up to strive for those. So yeah, making sure that I don't have a big head, which I normally don't, because I don't want to put the expectation on myself or my players that is the goal and the only goal, and anything other than that is failure. I generally look at every game we go into one game at a time, and whatever lesson we can learn from that game, we take away from it. If it's a win, it's a win. If it's a loss, why do we lose? So yeah, I really do try to take away a lesson from everything.
One last thing that I would have for you, it kind of cracks me up. What does the flip of the dynamic look like when spring rolls around and all of a sudden Meintz is your assistant?
Oh, yeah.
How does that kind of 1-2 work out?
Honestly, so far it has been super seamless. Yeah, you'd think there'd be some weird power dynamic, but there really isn't. Shawn and I work together very, very well. And it's kind of one of those like relaxed feelings. So like during the guy season, I understand the expectations that I have to do and my workload is a lot less. Kind of like I get to show up and just practice, and he gets to do all the paperwork and parent stuff. And then it kind of flips. So yeah, when we get into the spring, it's not in a mean way, but it's kind of like, haha, sucker, here you go sort of situation. So yeah, I think both of us try to help the other person when they are in that top head role, because it gets stressful, and sometimes you just need a sounding board, and we do offer that for each other.
I think that, like any varsity team sport, it is definitely not just a one-person job. It's definitely at least a two-person job at the very least. Just having that second person, be it he for you or you for him, I think that you guys have done an outstanding job of. People have pointed out to me that on the sideline, like during the boys' season, they didn't know who was the head coach, and same with the girls. And so I think that you guys have done a really good job in that regard, at least to an outside perspective. And it doesn't surprise me at all to find that from the inside, you guys would say the same thing. It just kind of cracks me up, kind of an odd couple type of situation.
Kind of, yeah. Actually, so when I first started as an assistant, his wife actually made the joke to me that she was the at-home wife and I was the at-work wife. because I was helping him keep his life in order. So, yeah.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Well, Nathaniel, we appreciate your time this evening. It's Kirksville girls head soccer coach Nathaniel Kennard. Also, as you would have gathered if you didn't know from this section of the podcast, the assistant boys varsity coach. Nathaniel, we appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
Joined now by Duke Cochran, Truman State University men's head soccer coach. Coach Cochran, how are you doing this evening?
Good, how are you? Doing well.
Cochran, having just finished up his 21st year at Truman State University, makes him the longest tenured soccer coach in program history. And Coach, I guess the first thing that I would ask you, what goes into that kind of longevity?
Oh, wow. At times, suffering. I'm an alum, so with the changes from the MIAA to the GLVC, wanted to stay around just to help the program, do what I can to keep it going, try to get it back to the glory days if I can. But as an alum, I met my wife here. She played on the women's team, so we're okay. Our kids like it here too, so that's pretty important.
Absolutely. And like you say, trying to bring the dogs back to their glory years. Talk a little bit about, coming off of a rough season, I hate to say, where the program goes from here, what kind of those steps are to, you have seen the program have success and you know what goes into it. What are the steps toward getting back to that spot?
Well, if you look at our current roster, we are still somewhat young. 2023, we're in the conference tournament as well as in 2022. And building those teams took a lot of time just to get to the level to be one of those top 8 teams. And over the last couple of years, we've lost a goalkeeper who was very good and a goal scorer that was also very good, an all-conference goal scorer. So I think trying to replace them is going to take a little bit of time. We have some very good talent in the keeper position and some forwards, but they're young. They've only got a year under their belt now, maybe 2 years. Creating the chemistry with the team is so important to try to take down some of these teams that are usually the top end of the GLVCs, highly international and graduate students. So if you've got 18 to 20-year-old American players, you have to build the chemistry. You have to build a team that maybe in a couple years can take those teams down.
Talk to me a little bit about some of those challenges that you face on the recruiting end of things compared to maybe some of the other teams in the GLVC that are unique challenges that the Truman job presents.
Yeah, without getting too far into the weeds about all of that, Lincoln's a brand new second-year team in the GLVC. Used to be around in the 90s, but they've come on the scene and in their second year finished second in the conference. Their program is mostly Caribbean players, Jamaican, so their funding must be very good. Across the board, the Indies, the Rockhursts, Lewis's, their recruiting budgets, I think, are very strong, and they go out and they grab, like I said, they'll try to find the graduate students or the international game changers, and their rosters are so full of them that the guys that they have will help find the next one, because you can't just blindly hope you throw money at an international player and it's going to turn out. You really need to have some kind of background on them. So I think for us, we're just not in that same boat where we can just go and throw lots of money at players outside of the state where state school. So we've really leaned into the homegrown mentality and building teams. So yeah, it was a rough season, but lots of bright spots. The guys did some things that showed you that they have the ability to do big things. So I'm excited about the future.
From a coaching standpoint, what would you say some of the highlights were for this season that maybe you would point out to, say, a disgruntled player or something like that as, hey, but we did this type of moments?
Right off the bat, at home, we had to come back to tie Hannibal LaGrange, and we were able to do that in our first game at home. Went on the road to play St. Cloud, who had a good year last year, went down 2-0. changed a couple things, came back and won that one 3-2 late on the road. So as a young team, that was a good sign that they have the ability to dig in and do something like that. Then towards the middle of the season, we went over and beat a Quincy team that made the conference tournament and had to put together a very good game to do that. And the guys did, and as well as beat Upper Iowa with the 3-1. Great goal by Drake Thompson in that goal. And then even late in the season, as it's winding down and our hopes of conference tournament are gone, the guys went down to S&T, got a guy thrown out in the first half, so played a man down, 0-0 at half. We lost 2-1 in the last 3 minutes, down a man, scored a goal on him, a man down. So again, a good sign of a hard-working team that doesn't give up. And against Lincoln hadn't given up more than a goal at home, and we scored 2 on them and lost 3-2 at their place. So when they were on, when the guys were all like clicking and in the flow, they could play with anyone in the conference. It's just staying consistent and doing it over 90 minutes and over a season.
And several near misses along the way. Could be a lot closer to a 500 team if just a couple things go a little bit differently. Do you believe?
Oh yeah, I think Illinois Springfield and Lewis are 2 games we would love to have back. As a young team, sometimes you experience growing pains, and there were some goals that we kind of gifted in that. And Illinois Springfield ended up, towards the bottom by the end of the season. Lewis, although they won the conference in last year in 24, they finished 10th this year, which also I think shows people that the GLVC men's conference is no joke. If you graduate your players, like the next year is going to be hard.
How many teams do you think that your conference is going to put into the regional, into the national tournament?
Gosh, this year, just looking at what went into the conference tournament, I think Rockhurst and Lincoln should get in, maybe a McKendree as well. This year, maybe not as heavy as the last couple years. Just looks like some of the other schools, the Fort Hayeses of the world, are doing much better. The GLIAC and those schools seem to be having some more teams that are up at the top end this year. So I'd say 2 or 3, and we typically get 4.
I was just glad that you mentioned that. It's one of the sports where the regional committees appreciate the strength of the GLVC. Is definitely in the world of men's soccer.
Yes, I would say it's got to be one of the top 3 conferences in our country for men's soccer.
Talk to me about, now that the all-conference first, second, and third teams are officially out. Talk to me a little bit about your sophomore and what he means to this team and what he's going to mean going forward.
That Jacob Panagos?
Yes, sir.
Jacob, we call him Jake. He's the type of player that can play. We've played him at center back. We've played him at center mid. We've played him at forward. He's got game-changing ability. Trying to get him where he needs to be for the team, it will be the next year. I think he's going to be our attacking midfielder, if I'm being honest. He seems to operate from that space the best. But he's just got, when you describe players that have it, he has it. He has the ability to break down a defender. He has the ability to stop at a good attacker. He's 6'3", so he's good in the air. He's got a very good shot, and he just moves different. Like, you think you've got him pinned down, and he's by you, within a second. So he's got some very good ability.
As far as years to come, next year and the year following, what are some things that you might utilize to get him more touches, or to find him more space, or to find ways for him to work complementarily as well?
I think since he's a sophomore, just growing into becoming a man is part of it. Fitness level as well. If you want to play in this league and do well, you have to be uber fit, because you're playing 2 games on a weekend. So your body has to be able to hold up. And then I think working with him to know when he needs to do things and when he, doesn't, so that you can almost rest at times. So it's really trying to help him understand when he's got to put himself into a situation or create a situation, because he's very good in and around goal. So if we can get set pieces, and he can get in the box, and there's a whole handful of other guys that are as well. So I think getting him to trust those that are around him to do some of the other work, so that he can maybe go get into the box, and put him, for me, I think, and our assistant, Coach Aiden Bilbao, like, we want to keep him close to goal when we can get him close to goal, because he's got a knack to score. He's good in the air. He's good on the ground. So I think just helping him understand when to make those runs and when to be available to score goals are going to be pretty crucial, as well as when he's got to drop back into our box and help defend. But he's definitely not the only player that can do big things. He got recognized, so that's great. But there's a lot of other guys around him that are very good.
And is he the type of guy who would acknowledge that too?
Absolutely.
From a team first type of perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, and if he weren't, then I think as a coaching staff, we'd be concerned, because our culture wants to be one of, we want to lift each other up. If it's you on a day, that's great. If it's me, so be it. But it's we win.
Your other superlative winner, James R. Spalding Sportsmanship Award honoree in the GLVC was, and please correct me if I mispronounce this, Zoran Sabert.
Yeah, they call him Z, Zoran. He's only a sophomore as well. He's almost a defender you maybe wouldn't recognize, because he's not getting into big tackles or getting into just big challenges, but he's just very smooth, always in the way. He's got enough pace to stay with most players in this league. And as a sophomore, I mean, this year there were some good players that got by him, but he doesn't put a foot wrong very often. And he's very hard to rattle. Like, you're not going to get in his head. He's not a player that gets frustrated that easily. So he's quietly a very good defender.
For all of these young guys, what do you as a coaching staff have real expectations for them to do to be able to take this step forward? Not necessarily for the 2026 season, but seasons beyond.
Really pay attention to what happened this year. If you're a good player and want to be a great team, you have to pay attention to what just happened in the season you just played in. Be it Indy, Lewis, whatever team you want to name. If it didn't go right, well, where did it not go right? And where can you as an individual in the off season put in work to make sure that doesn't go wrong ever again? Not just against that team, but against any team, because that's what I mean when you have to be consistent. You can be a great team by beating a great team, but the great teams beat all the teams, right? Like those are the teams you go, wow, they're very good. That consistency. And this year, from what I saw, Rockhurst is probably that team in our conference that from goalkeeper to goal scorers, like, they don't have a weak player. They're very balanced. So I think it's our young players staying just a little angry, hungry, and putting the work in, because if they don't do it, like, nothing's going to change, right? It's maybe we pick new players, but I'd much rather see these guys, and I think they will, grow another year, just get a little bit older, mature a little bit, understand how important to play 90 minutes it is as opposed to 75 or even a half. You have to complete the game, and how we show up, how our mindset is so important. And we have a lot of good things happening within the team right now, like as a culture. So we just have to continue to promote that and grow it and fight for it. I mean, that honestly, from this group, they had a never give up attitude. So I don't care what the score is. If you have that as a building block, you'll be able to do something.
Very good. Truman State University head men's soccer coach, Duke Cochran. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Coach.
Thank you.
We're joined now by Truman State University women's soccer coach, Mike Kennard, having just finished up his 33rd season at the helm. How are you doing this evening, Coach?
Doing well. How are you? Doing well.
Very good to see you. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Of course.
Just give me a little bit of a debrief coming off of a 5-6-5 season down the stretch. Were you guys in a circumstance, if you would have won, had different results in your last 4, aside from 2 ties and 2 losses, to make the conference tournament?
Yeah. If we would have scored 1 goal the weekend that we had 2 0-0 ties, we would have just won one of those games, which, again, easier said than done.
Sure.
The last weekend against Maryville and Umsel, those are 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference, so those are going to be tougher. But the weekend before, when we played SMT and Lincoln, especially the Lincoln game, the SMT game was pretty even. Obviously, they have a pretty good team this year, but the Lincoln game was the one that we tied, and we needed to win that one. So yes, if we would have scored a goal on that Sunday, the second to last weekend, the following weekend, it wouldn't have really mattered if we won or lost. Like, we would have already been in. Well, or at least by this last game, we for sure would have been in.
Talk to me a little bit about coming down the stretch and at least putting yourself in a position to crack that top 8 and make it to the conference tournament. Just talk to me upon what you and your ladies can build upon playing truly meaningful soccer down the home stretch.
Yeah. Well, I think a couple things. One, we made the conference tournament last year. We didn't make it this year, but last year we snuck in as the 8 seed. Our record wasn't as good. We didn't get as many points in conference. This year we had a better record in conference. We had more points. There just happened to be like a couple more teams that had good seasons. So it's frustrating in regards to, I feel like we had a better team this year. We played much better soccer, got more points, had a better record, and then, quite get in, where like last year we got in and I don't think we were quite as good as this year. So, but that being said, I think we definitely took some steps in the right direction. One of our big goals is to beat everybody, but, if we're going to finish somewhere in the middle or hopefully towards the top, we got to start beating teams that are below us. And I kind of talked about the tying Lincoln instead of beating them. That was, the last couple of years, there were games that we lost to a team that was like below us, and it kind of ended up costing us to have a chance to get into the conference playoffs. So, but yeah, we played really well. Obviously we had the last weekend was going to be tough. So that's why we needed to get a few more points the weekend before at least. But, we played much better, even against the better teams this year. Maryville, we lost 4-2 in the last game of the season. And, again, they were a better team on the day, but I felt like we gave them a much better game. Last year we played them two out of the last 3 games of the season, including the conference tournament. And we only lost 1-0 in the conference tournament, but we defended the entire game. Where this year, we scored a couple goals on them. Obviously we gave up a few goals, but I feel like we're making progress. We're playing better. We're doing, the things we need to do. Obviously you don't always see that, especially in soccer. It can be a game where you can dominate a game and not score. And sometimes you lose games where you're clearly the better team, but sometimes you end up on the other side of that too. So, it can be a little bit tough at times.
Walk us a little bit through the season at large from August until now, and just kind of what you would say to all of these ladies on the back end of it as the season went on. And as you mentioned, you saw continued improvement to the point that you believe that this year's product was a better one that you put on the field the year prior, and how you carry that momentum throughout a really long season.
Yeah. It was an even longer season. Actually, we, about 2/3 of the team went to Spain, early August before preseason. We were, really good time. We had family come along with us too. And I think that was a really good bonding experience. Definitely helped, especially our freshmen, 5 of the 6 freshmen went on the trip as well. So I think they felt much more comfortable. You could tell in their play early in preseason, that they were, not walking on eggshells around the older girls, which was good. We had a good preseason, couple injuries through the year, but we stayed relatively healthy. Our first weekend non-conference games, we went up to Michigan, tied the first game, kind of a last 5 minutes. We scored the equalizing goal, lost the second game. So not the best results, but against, good teams. And then we started with a big win over Indy early, kind of a wild 3-2 back and forth game. But you could tell we we were better earlier. Our leadership was really good this year. Our senior class, since they were freshmen, one of their goals was to get our team culture to its highest point, and I feel like they succeeded. So that's one of the big things we talked about on senior day, and that evening we had a senior banquet with family, and I thank them for basically kind of reclaiming our team culture. It was good before, but now I feel like it's like top notch. I don't feel like any of our kids feel like it's family. Like we do have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, but it doesn't feel that way at practice. We kind of treat them just like everybody else, and it's kind of hard to do. You try to get away from like treating freshmen like freshmen, but I feel like we did as good of a job as we possibly could have. So yeah, it's a long season, like you said. Wish it was a little bit longer, obviously. But yeah, really happy with both how we played, but also how we carried ourselves off the field as a team, and just like in general.
We talked a little bit about culture, aside from things like making some of the upperclassmen make the freshmen feel warm and at home on trips to Spain or banquets or things like that. What exactly does that mean as far as in practice and on the field and things like that when you talk about culture and really kind of seeing it come to fruition? What does that look like as a coach from a coaching perspective?
That's a really good question. I'd say in practice for sure. Like obviously we're teaching, the coaching staff is teaching as we're doing stuff through practice, but it's really important for the older players to reinforce the stuff that we're saying. That I think hearing a coach say it, great, but also if you hear it from like a senior or junior that's like, yeah, make sure you do this, or what he said or what she said. It just kind of validates that point that they believe in what we're doing. And I think like our older players for sure, with just their positivity and just making sure our younger players know like it's okay to make mistakes, just make up for it. Try not to make too many mistakes. But yeah, I mean, and then just even like on campus, I feel like our older players do a really good job of like hanging out with the younger players as well, which a lot of times you don't see that. Like they see each other at practice or at the games, but like our actually team is really tight pretty much throughout. And I just feel like that makes a huge difference.
And just a handful of these numbers, and I'm not throwing these out here to necessarily inflate your ego or anything by any stretch of the imagination, just to kind of highlight how many groups you've seen come and go over the course of the years. 11 conference championships, 10 times conference coach of the year. That's across both the GLVC and MIAA, obviously. 300, what would now be 84 wins coming off of this season. So you've seen that's 41st among all active NCAA coaches. You've seen a lot of different groups, and this is a group that you've stated has something special. What is that special kind of it factor for these girls in particular?
Yeah, I mean, it's something you can't teach, you hope for, in terms of like every day at practice was, we worked hard, but like we enjoyed it. Just again, I think when the student athletes can be themselves, and obviously we're doing stuff, but then like in between a drill or stuff that they're goofing off or having fun together, you're like, they enjoy being there. They're like love being around each other. And even on like we've had a lot of successful teams, and usually if you have success, usually the culture is pretty good as well, but like it's not always that way. And obviously when you don't have success, sometimes it can get a bit grim. So I think to me it was really special because this group hasn't seen like a ton of success, but like kind of made their own like success the last 2 years for sure, especially our senior class. But just like the way they made it, I feel really good heading forward with the group that we have, just because I think they see like, here's the blueprint. It's not that difficult, but you got to work at it in terms of like on field, but especially off the field stuff.
Is it kind of cool for you to see that these girls now have realistic expectations for one another and a desire to build off of what, like you say, like last year you make the conference tournament and that's phenomenal, and it's a little bit of a bummer, a little bit heartbreaking to not make it this year, even though you're going in the right direction. The trajectory's there. Do your players see it that way?
I hope so. I mean, I would believe they do. I mean, I know, again, stats are stats, but even like outside of like our record, obviously we had a better conference record, better overall record than we had last year. But like, I think you look at like the amount of shots that we had per game, shots on goal per game, like we were just much better, like able to score more goals and to be in games more. 2 or 3 years ago, we had a lot of like 0-0, 1-0s. This year, we're scoring 2, 3, 4 goals in some of the games, and even against like a Maryville, they had more shots on goal, but like we had a decent amount where, last year when we played them in the conference tournament, we maybe had like 2 shots and they had 20 something in this year. It's 15, 10, so it's like, I feel like we're more competitive, and you're not always going to see that in all of the results, because obviously other teams are trying to get better. Some are going to get better, some are going to get worse, that kind of stuff too. But yeah, I think I hope the girls are seeing like that we're in more games, we're winning more games, we're heading in the right direction. We just have to keep pushing, because it's not, obviously winning is not the only goal, but like we're trying to be successful, and it's a good conference soccer wise, on the girls and guys side. So I think it's not going to be easy. Nothing's going to be handed to you. So we have to keep like pushing to like, because a lot of times, especially in soccer, there's not that many goals scored at times. So little things are really important. It's not like basketball. Both teams are probably going to score 60 or 70 points, and there's going to be some key plays. It's like key plays in soccer are like, it might be the only goal of the game. So like, did you make the right pass? Did you track that player? Did you finish the shot? Did you make the save? So I think like that's the stuff when you want to get to another level. It's like, that's the stuff you got to be even better at. The details,
the minutia.
Yep.
You had 2 girls named to all GLVC teams. That was just announced. By the time that this airs on Wednesday, they will be public. But third team, Quinn Nauman, your junior forward. Talk a little bit about her and what she did to kind of make your team go this season.
Yeah, well deserved. Obviously, wish she'd be a little bit higher, but I think it's our first all-conference player, I think, since 2021. So excited for that. Yeah, she's a dynamo. I mean, like, she's our left winger for the most part. She loves 1v1 battles. She likes to go at people, which is hard to get kids to take people on and challenge other players. A lot of times it's a lot easier just to pass the ball. But I think she had a career high in goals this year with 5, and I think she had 4 assists. Should have had more when she gets in behind the defense and just like creates like lots and lots of chances. And obviously we got better this year, but we need to get better at finishing some of her chances. Hopefully she'll score more too, but like she definitely should get more assists if we get better at kind of reading where she's going to play the ball. But like, just athletic, but smart, but also relentless, like just goes at people left and right. Like if you see one of our games, like I think a lot of teams kind of figured it out pretty quick. And she was doing this the last couple of years, but just getting better and better at just being like more of a threat. But I think a lot of teams are like, that's the kid you got to watch for. Like she's probably our most dangerous player.
What does she need to do in this offseason to become even more of that kind of threat? Like you talk about maybe some teammates reading her better and capitalizing on opportunities, but what does she need to do to make this second team or first team when we look at these a year from now?
Yeah. I mean, kind of along that same line for her, I think it's just more like being a little bit more selfish at times. She did score more this year, but I think there's times that she looks to set people up, and huge credit to her. Like she was already very good and took like a giant step this year in terms of like, I guess it would be, she's a left winger. She's a left-footed player. So like her first year or so, like she's like over on the sideline waiting for the ball. And when she gets it, she like hugs the sideline. Like last year got better. I kept telling her like, sometimes you got to go inside so you have more space outside. If you get past people, like it's okay to just go directly to goal as opposed to go down and cross the ball. Cause like we'd rather you score than pass the ball and hope for somebody else to score on that pass. But yeah, I think like just her finishing skills, just shooting more, trying to be more aggressive, trying to get actually to the goal as much as she possibly can. Cause she did that a lot better this year and we saw the results, but I still think there's another level or two for her.
Then James R. Spalding Sportsmanship Award honorees. Gretchen Rock made that list. Talk a little bit about her. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Sportsmanship Award honorees are the honorable mentions, effectively. Is that correct?
No, it's nominated by the coaching staff. Okay. So each coaching staff nominates their player that they believe is like the kind of like maybe their most sporting, best sportsmanship award type person. So Gretchen, fantastic senior.
Thank you for that. Thank you for clearing.
Yeah. And some are that way where they are like kind of the honorable mentions, but ours is set up a little bit different. And I think that's for all the sports, if I'm being honest. But no, fantastic. Like she's so, such a like spark of life, like just positive, always picking up her teammates, always cheering, always aggressive when she gets on the field. She scored a great goal in the Southwest Baptist game at home off like a cross. She volleyed it in for her first career goal. But just like the kind of like talk about our senior class being like kind of changing things and putting us on like a different level. And again, some of it's like how they play on the field, but a bigger part is just how they are as people. Like, you know, if you're around her, you're just like, you're going to smile, you're going to be happy, you're going to be motivated to go do something like positive. So like, again, she's just a really good example of our senior class, kind of personifies like what they brought to the table for us.
And you have had however many academic All-Americans over the years. Is your team this year as academically strong as they have been in years past? Pretty much par for the course in that regard.
I hope so. I mean, we'll find out when we get some grades at the end of the semester. But yeah, I mean,
but you would assume.
Yeah, I mean, we do pretty well in the classroom. I think the girls work really hard. Obviously, we're on trips. You know, that's a huge part of the conversation. Like, what tests, what papers, how much homework they have. Computers are always out. I'm sure probably all of our Truman teams, I'm sure, have similar type kids. But yeah, our girls do really well in their academics, which makes my job a lot easier. So we're not worrying about kids being ineligible.
That
it's like the furthest thing from my mind most of the time, which is a great thing to have.
That has to be pretty awesome as a collegiate head coach. Talk to me about that a little bit. Just how little you've had to worry about getting on these girls over the years, because if they're not going to be accountable, so their teammates will be first and foremost.
True. I mean, like, again, we talk about the older players. They set such a great example with, like, you know, they're bringing their computers, they're bringing their books, they're down in the hotel lobby on trips studying. And like, they're also helping us preseason with the new players, like go talk to your teachers, show them our schedule, take the excuse forms in, talk to them early. Like, they do a really good job. And obviously we're right there saying the same stuff. But yeah, it's fantastic when you don't have to, like, the girls obviously still stress out about stuff. They worry about stuff, but it's, you know, I might get a B in this class. That test was hard. You're kind of like, okay, like those are problems that we can, or not problems, but those are things we can worry about, but like much easier than, like, we're not, and I'm not going around and checking to make sure our kids are going to class, you know, just, or checking to make sure they did their homework, all that kind of stuff. It's like, they're here for a reason. They know that, they're mature. And it's, you know, it's a great, you know, one of my favorite things about Truman State and Truman State athletics is just like, we do excel, both on the field and in the classroom. And like, the classroom one is probably where we excel the most over the years. And that's, I mean, obviously playing sports can be difficult, but obviously doing well in school is not the easiest thing, especially at a challenging university. And our kids are getting jobs, going to whatever grad school they want for the most part. Like, it's a pretty cool setup when the kids, you know, the kids are going to be successful in life.
Well, Coach, anything specifically you're looking to see between now and the beginning of year 34 next September? Anything that you're looking to change, or just business as usual and you're going into your 34th year?
I mean, you know, obviously we're bringing a new class. We lose kids, so pretty much each semester the team changes a little bit. I try to tell the team that a lot. Where, you know, start of the fall season, we're adding kids into the fall season. The seniors are still here, but they're kind of done playing. So then, like, the spring team's different, and then in the fall we add kids again. We had some freshmen again. So I think for us, the big one's going to be like, can we continue to get better offensively, but also kind of we were good defensively. Can we get better? And that's been like one of our hallmarks over the years is, you know, shutting teams out, not giving up goals, being a little bit better defensively. We gave up a few more goals than I would have liked this year. But I think that's something we can get better at. We had a freshman goalkeeper, a little bit younger defense in the middle. So I think, you know, experience is a huge factor in improvement. But yeah, I mean, we'll look at everything in terms of like what we need to do different. But like, obviously, I think playing style, playing mentality, and like the way we like to play will probably be pretty similar if it's in a different formation or different players in different spots. Obviously, that stuff can always change. But, you know, we still can get better. So we got to keep tinkering a little bit at least.
Truman State University women's soccer coach Mike Cannon. Coach Cannon, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.